What is feudalism? Feudalism is a form of socio-economic and political organization with three distinct social classes, namely the king or queen, the nobles, which include princes and priests, and the peasants. It is important to note that in a feudal society, status is based on land ownership. Historically, the king owned all the available land, and he portioned out that land to his nobles for their use. The nobles, in turn, rented out their land to peasants. The peasants paid the nobles in produce and military service. The nobles, in turn, paid the king. As we can see, in feudalism, everyone was, at least nominally, in thrall to the king, and the peasants' labor paid for everything. As we can see, feudalism was a way of structuring society around relationships that were derived from the holding of land in exchange for service or labor. Although it is derived from the Latin word feodum or feudum, that is, fief, which was used during the medieval period, the term feudalism and the system which it describes were not conceived of as a formal political system by the people who lived during the Middle Ages. English feudalism is thought to have arisen in the 11th century CE under William the Conqueror, when he had the common law altered after the Norman conquest in 1066. William took possession of all of England and then parcelled it out among his leading supporters as tenancies, or fiefs, to be held in return for services to the king. Those supporters granted access to their land to their own tenants, who paid for that access by a percentage of the crops they produced and by their own military service. The king and nobles provided aid, relief, wardship and marriage and inheritance rights for the peasant classes. Although feudalism famously developed in Europe during the Middle Ages, it has been identified in many other societies and times, including the imperial governments of Rome, Japan, and the United States of America. In fact, American founding father, Thomas Jefferson, was convinced that the new United States was practicing a form of feudalism in the 18th century. He argued that indentured servants and enslavement were both forms of yeoman farming, in that access to land was provided by the aristocracy and paid for by the tenant in a variety of ways. Throughout history and today, feudalism arises in places where there is an absence of organized government and the presence of violence. Under those circumstances, a contractual relationship is formed between ruler and ruled. The ruler provides access to the required land, and the rest of the people provide support to the ruler. The entire system allows the creation of a military force that protects everyone from violence within and without. In England, feudalism was formalized into a legal system, written into the laws of the country and codifying a tripartite relationship between political allegiance, military service, and property ownership.